Welcome to the Summit for Wellness podcast, where we help you climb to the peak of your health. And now, here is your host, Brian Carroll.
Hello, and welcome back to the Summit for Wellness podcast. This episode is brought to you by Inessa, which is a skincare company that makes products from pure and organic ingredients that result in effective products which bring a more radiant and beautiful skin tone, all naturally. And as we'll be talking in this episode about skincare, there's a lot within the skincare industry that isn't regulated. So it's very important to get your products that are made of organic ingredients and are pure, because what you put on your skin does interact with the rest of your body. So it's very important to make sure that the ingredients that are used within your products are good quality ingredients. And we'll be talking a lot more about that in this episode. So to learn more about Inessa, then go to summitforwellness.com/Inessa, and that is ENESSA. And if you use the coupon code SummitForWellness, you will receive 15% off your first order. I also have a very exciting announcement to make because we have an upcoming webinar all about the keto diet. It is called the Keto Restore Diet, how to properly prepare your body for the keto diet. And I decided to do this webinar because there's so many programs coming out for the keto diet, and no one is talking about how to actually prepare your body before going into a high-fat state. So in this webinar, we'll be talking about how to prepare your body to start adapting to more of a fat burning state, and how to do that effectively and in a way that's safe for the body and not overloading the body. So I also have my keto program that will be launching at the same time. Whether you want to join the keto program or not, that is up to you, but the webinar will still be extremely valuable. So if you go to summitforwellness.com/keto webinar, then you can see the upcoming times for the different webinars, and you can join in and listen to the fun all about the keto diet. Okay, in this episode, I brought on Michelle Ornstein to talk about quality control of skincare products and how to make sure that the skincare products you are using are made of very high quality products. So she talks about how to know if the products you are using are high quality, what ingredients to be on the lookout for, and to make sure that the product companies that you use have a relationship with the suppliers that they use to receive the ingredients that they use within their products. So let's go ahead and listen in to what Michelle had to say about quality control of skincare products. Michelle Ornstein has been in the skincare field since the age of 16. She was an esthetician for 25 years and is certified in aromatherapy and natural product formulation. She has attended numerous courses in cosmetic chemistry and has been an active member of the Society of Chemists of Los Angeles for the past 15 years. Thank you, Michelle, for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Brian, for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Now, it's pretty fascinating to find someone that's been working in their field since the age of 16. Can you talk about what brought you into skincare and what kind of grabbed your attention with it?
Sure. So I remember just a little bit of background of my growing up. Growing up in Israel, I grew up in a kind of a holistic home where my father was a vegetarian. He introduced us to juicing as a part of our normal diet. But I have to say that he's almost 91 and he still juices daily. On the other hand, I was a typical teenager who didn't eat very well. So my skin started to break out, and I remember that I needed to to figure out what am I going to do, because it really affected my self-esteem. And one of my girlfriends said that she just got the best facials in a beautiful spa in Beverly Hills, and I should go and see this esthetician. So I gather up some money, and I remember that I said, okay, I guess that's going to fix my problem. I just need a really good facials and probably, get some good products, and that would do it. So I had my first facial, and that was a really bad experience, I have to say. I have an olive skin complexion, and I remember that she was picking so much on my skin, And she actually created the marks that took like almost, 2 months for my skin to heal from the marks. And at that point, I was traumatized because I thought, oh, I'm never doing that again. In terms of skincare, I remember that I couldn't afford buying all the stuff that she wanted me to buy. And I thought, okay, that's not going to work, so I have to figure out something else. Then the next thing that I thought was, oh, well, a dermatologist could fix my skin. So I went ahead and booked an appointment with a really well-known dermatologist in Beverly Hills. I remember that I had to wait 2 months for him to actually being able to, see me. And I finally got my appointment. I was so excited. I said, yes, I finally have my appointment to see the dermatologist. And I remember walking into the room waiting. And when he finally stepped in, he introduced himself and he says, so what are you here for? And I said, well, I have acne. My skin is broken out. And he goes, oh, he didn't even get close. He just kind of sat down and immediately took a pad and a pen and started to write a prescription. And I was thinking, what? This is crazy. This is all he's doing? And I had to stop him and said, I'm sorry, but what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm writing a prescription for antibiotics and Retin-A. And then I thought, that's all you're going to do? Like, I waited 2 months so you can come and, see me. Like, maybe you have other questions. Like, why am I breaking out? He says, oh, no, it's very normal. And, that's your age. And there's nothing else that, you could do. I said, well, what about, can I eat anything? He goes, oh, yeah, diet has nothing to do with it. You can eat whatever you want. And, just take the antibiotics. I said, well, I'm not going to take antibiotics because I don't believe in taking antibiotics for my skin. And he says, okay, we'll just use the Retin-A. So I said, okay. I was very disappointed with the visit, obviously, because I felt that was a very cold, not personal. I didn't get anything other than a prescription, which I thought, why did I even have to wait 2 months? I mean, that could have been a phone appointment. So needless to say, I did, out of desperation, I did try the Retin-A. I remember that it was really bad for my skin. Personally, I had a bad reaction. I have very thin skin that reacts very quickly to pretty much anything that I apply on the skin, good or bad. And I started having this blotchy, redness, itchy feeling. I think after like 3 applications, I completely stopped using it. So at that point, I was like, okay, this is, I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. I have to figure this out on my own. So at that time, obviously there was no computer or internet. So I just went to the Beverly Hills Public Library and I just started to check out books. And from herbs, how to treat acne naturally. And I just, was immersed in the whole topic of skincare. And the more I read, the more I wanted to dig into it. And the more I understood that it's more than just what I'm applying on my skin. I started to change my diet. I remember that my friend told me about a nutritionist that I was talking to at the time. Then I started reading books about nutrition. And then I went to the local health food store. It was a very small health food store where I lived, not the big, chain health food stores that we have today. And I found, small little pamphlets, and that was, they taught you how to kind of make your homemade skincare products. And I was very excited because they were selling all these bulk ingredients. And then I could just buy all these bulk ingredients and try to make my own creams and scrubs from scratch. And at the time, I remember one of my, it was an inspiration to me, was this natural brand that was all about aloe vera and cucumber. And I thought, wow, that is amazing. I need to do that, not realizing really that it was marketing, and then the more I understood what I was reading and reading the ingredients in the back, the more I realized that I had more questions, and the more I did not understand. So the more I dug into it, the more questions I had. And I did, enjoy, at age 16, that's what I did. I started to just kind of make my own products for me at home. And I remember my mother was telling me that I'm making a mess all the time, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and then I remember that my skin started to clear up. But again, I said I wanted more. At that time, I was determined that I needed to really understand more about the depth of ingredients and products. I decided that after I graduated from high school that I was going to go to beauty school. I wasn't sure if that's what I was going to do as a profession, but I just thought, why not? I'm just going to take this course, and I love it, so it interests me, and I'm just going to see where it takes me. And beauty school was like the best thing, the best experience that I've had personally, being able to actually be with the same people, that same, passion, that want to discover, understand, doing hands-on work. And I was 18 already, and I was licensed esthetician. So I was already working in a very young age as an esthetician. It was tough for me to get my first job because at that time I didn't realize that I was really young. I thought 18, you're really like, you're an adult. So I had a really tough time finding a job because I had no experience. I actually remember one day that I was sitting with the yellow pages, and I said, I'm determined, I'm going to find it. And from A through Z, I called all the places in Beverly Hills until I was going to find a place that's going to say, yes, there's an opening, come for an interview. And I have to tell you, my first job was in the letter V of the alphabet. I can't tell you. And that meant so much to me when the lady said over the phone, sure. She didn't say come and fill an application. She actually said, why don't you come and give me a facial, and I'll see how you work. And I thought, wow, she's different, because all the other places, they just wanted me to fill an application. So that was my first and only job that I worked somewhere. It was for a lovely woman in Beverly Hills. She had her own little spa. And I stayed working with her for 4.5 years. And I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I felt that I was having personal conflict with the products that she was carrying, because I was studying on my own more natural, holistic approach to skincare, and she was, she was European, and she had a different approach to skincare than my beliefs were at the time, and still. So after 4.5 years, and during actually that time, I started to do facials at home, seeing my friends, family, and started blending and making things as I, like I said, as I was reading from books. And I studied. Then in the summer, I went to Israel, and I enrolled myself in an Aromatherapy Institute, where they took the aromatherapy very seriously. I was blessed to have an incredible teacher. He was like my aromatherapy guru, and he was teaching for estheticians and health practitioners, not just necessarily how to make personal care, but also how to take essential oils internally. So he had people that used to come from all over to learn from him. And I remember every year I went in the summer for 3 months to study with him until I got my certification. And that was, to me, like the biggest eye-opener. I felt like I found my religion, my true religion within my field. And he gave me the ability to actually create from a deeper understanding, to have full control of the ingredients, the oils, the essential oils. It's something that I continually, I feel like I'm always a beginner on whatever level that I'm learning. But I have to say that was what really kind of took me to the direction of where I am today, is the start becoming an aromatherapist. From there, I evolved throughout the years. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more on how can I had an obstacle. When I started formulating essential oils with oils, at the time that I did this, that was in the 80s, where people were not open-minded as they are today about applying oils on their skin as a facial moisturizer. I remember that I used to tell people that I practice aromatherapy, and they used to say, you do what kind of therapy? And they just didn't understand. They said, aromatherapy. Oh, yeah, the one that you put in your bath to put you in a good mood. And that's all that they had an understanding back then about aromatherapy for the most part. I remember that I got kind of tired and almost like I felt like the aromatherapy world was not getting the attention and the respect that it really needs to have. So my first brochure was, "What is Aromatherapy by Michelle?" And I just started handing it to people that asked me, what kind of therapy do you do? So, because I thought that was really funny. They were then more inquisitive, but then it was still very difficult for me to, educate people that it's really okay to put oils on your skin, that it's not going to clog your pores, that essential oils are not, comedogenic as that was the biggest fear that every dermatologist was telling their patients, to make sure that they do not put oils on their face, especially when they have oily acne skin. So throughout the years, as the cosmetic industry has evolved, I have to say that it's been the biggest blessing for me that finally there is a major awareness and to natural, organic, essential oils, which it's amazing how they are becoming. It's like a very popular thing right now, but it's been around for thousands of years. I'm blessed to have a lot of other lines that are competing with my line that are doing a great job in educating and marketing and embracing the whole natural and organic essential oils and not fearing what 25 years ago everybody feared. I think it's pretty much almost gone, at least in California. I feel like the awareness is very much here too, and people are seeking it more than anywhere else. I also was involved in, I wanted to do more than just oils, because as the cosmetic industry evolved, I was happy to see that every time I attended trade shows for ingredients for formulators, there were more and more companies that were able to offer ingredients that were natural, that they were, creating different alternatives to silicones, to different, to petrolatum ingredients, to ingredients that I personally never used in the beginning, because I started again as just blending oils and essential oils. But I always felt that I was stuck in continuing because there was nothing available for me, for my belief of how I wanted to formulate as natural and as strict by the definition of natural for me. So the more that there was available, the more that I could just dig into it and started to enroll in, more courses and training and cosmetic chemists, congress and symposiums, and people that came from different countries of teaching about their ingredients and how natural and organic is embraced today. So this has been allowing me to basically continue and evolve as the industry is evolving and opening its doors to us that, this is what we want. It's basically, it's like I finally feel like, okay, there is a good fit there. Now I can create from a place and offer what I always envisioned to offer, but I was stuck before.
It's really neat to hear that you were kind of ahead of the game with trying to find more natural ways to improve skincare, because it you were at that point where it wasn't really well known, and then now it seems to be a really big topic that people are talking about when it comes to using more natural products on your skin and taking care of your skin in different ways than just slathering on a bunch of different products packed full of different chemicals.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes I think I was too early to the game. It was definitely much harder back then for me to sell my products than it is today. So, but at the same time, I feel very fortunate that I was introduced to it in a very young age, and today, because there is that need and desire and curiosity and appreciation, I'm benefiting even much more because companies and even growers of herbs and plants, they are deciding to distill and create essential oils and oils that they were not available 20 years ago. So it's fantastic. It's great. Like, for instance, when I started blending essential oils with carrier oils, there were very few that were available. They were like the basic almond oil, the sesame oil, the hazelnut oils, a lot of the nut oils, and definitely not organic. So I was kind of stuck with just whatever was available. Today, it's just amazing. Every time I go to a trade show, I just come back with this incredible high of like, oh my God, look at this. I just discovered this in a new oil from, India. I got discovered this, from just really exotic oils, the Morocco, just different oils that never were available, and nobody even would have cared if they were available 20 years ago because people would fear oils. So it's very interesting how to see, not just as formulators have changed, because we have changed, society have changed and created this need for us to formulate better products. So since we are having this strong demand, we want better ingredients, then the ingredients manufacturers are forced to change their either existing ingredients and make them, more natural and not as toxic, or the ones that, even natural, to just, okay, let's just grow now organic because there's more demand and people want organic. And so I see that also, and I'm sure you're in the same field with the holistic field. It's the same thing with the food industry. Yeah.
Right. And you've mentioned quite a few times about the difference between the ingredients that are used within the industry. Can you talk about what are some healthier ingredients to use and what might be more toxic or harmful to the body to use?
Sure. So in terms of toxic ingredients, it's one thing that people always ask me. It's really funny, but I get these emails and questions. Are you cruelty free? Do you use any synthetic? These questions that and I understand where people are coming from, because today people are used to seeing these cosmetic companies, like big chain companies, that decided to reformulate their products, and they're not right away are putting no parabens, no GMOs, no synthetic and all of that. And for me, it was no from the day one. It was not that I reformulated because natural is in today. I was never into it. So those ingredients that I can mention, these toxic ingredients, I know that they're still using them in the US. I am hoping that sooner than later that they're going to be banned from using them in the US. And I do believe that the government will slowly pay more strict attention to the cosmetic industry and take it more seriously. And that's one thing that I find that's alarming, is that in the cosmetic industry, it's not regulated for the most part. They are trying to do a better job, but it's taking a very slow, motions in comparison to other countries. For instance, formaldehyde is still used here. I mean, there's still some ingredients that I'm just shocked that are still there, and when I see them on, in the main, drugstore, you go to the major stores and you just pick up, if it's hair colors, if it's nail polish, if it's whatever, cosmetics, makeup. And these are big brands that are just feeling okay to still use these ingredients that are toxic. I mean, parabens are probably not the worst thing. I mean, I've never used them. I would not use anything personally myself with a paraben either, but I just know that, the other, like I said, formaldehyde donors, phthalates. We were talking about sunscreen, avobenzone, and people are aware today that there are a lot of ingredients in sunscreens that they're more damaging, and it's better not to wear it than to do wear it. They cause a lot of, they've done a lot of studies, and they are, saying that they might, lead to some cancer. And even though that there is all these concern, it's still available. It's still there, and companies are still selling it. I remember it was a couple of years ago, and we have this yearly conference for chemists, and we gather about 300 chemists usually, and people come from all over the world. And they brought somebody to speak, and one of the speakers was from FDA regulations, and they did bring up the topic of all these ingredients that are soon to be banned. Well, soon for the FDA is not soon enough, but I was excited at least to see that. It was a large list of ingredients. There were over 1,000 of ingredients that in the cosmetic industry we were not going to be allowed to use. I remember looking at the room and seeing a lot of faces that were concerned because I realized that they were using these ingredients. And I was just saddened to think, like, wow, they're just thinking about the money that they're going to be losing. But, where's the conscience? Like, you should be like, don't use it. I mean, you're harming somebody. So I think there are so many toxic ingredients out there that they accumulate in the body, and people just don't understand. They think that they're just applying it topically on the skin, but what they don't understand is that the skin absorbs the ingredient and it gets into the body and it gets into the liver. One ingredient, to talk about the ones that going back to the product that I used for acne that I tried, Retin-A, is a pretty harmful ingredient. And I know it's still used and talked about as one of the top products ingredient for anti-aging, for acne. But what people don't understand that it is, it's pretty toxic, and then not to mention that it thins out the skin. And when you're thinning out the skin on a daily basis, and you go in the sun, you're exposing your skin, your fresh new skin, to get hyperpigmentation and skin discoloration. So you're actually damaging your skin when you're doing this on a daily basis, not to mention that it causes, other bad reaction to the body because it stays with the body, in the body. Other ingredient that is pretty alarming to me that is still used is hydroquinone. And hydroquinone is known for skin lightener. And I remember in the 80s, everybody wanted to have their skin, white. And even if there was just little, not much of a pigmentation, they just thought it would be a great thing to lighten them, brighten their skin. And they would go to the dermatologist and they would just get a prescription for hydroquinone. And even if it was a minimal percentage, you have to understand you have to use this cream on a daily basis for at least 6 to 8 weeks before you see any kind of results. The results that you're supposed to see your skin a little bit, or maybe more than a little bit, brighter, lighter. But at the same time, when you're doing that, you are creating a thinner skin. Again, the same problem that is happening when you're using retinols. And that skin is, sensitive to pigmentation, and it's pretty toxic to the body. And when you're using something like this on a daily basis for a long period of time, it can also, lead to some cancers. And people are not thinking about the long term. They're just thinking of today. I know that in Europe, it's banned in Europe and in other countries, just like the other ingredients that I mentioned. So hopefully this is something that, it's going to be outlawed in here very soon too.
Yeah, it's nice to see that the FDA is actually talking about starting to ban some of these ingredients that are used, because like you said, Europe has banned quite a few different ingredients, and we seem to be so far behind in banning ingredients that everywhere else seems to be banning.
Yeah. And on the contrary, I know that there are some ingredients in Europe that are approved, even as the SPF filters, that are not approved in the US. So, it's the same thing with, each country has their own regulation, Australia and Japan. So whenever I get introduced to an ingredient that interests me, that's always my first question, is I have to see which countries it's approved in, because we do sell internationally, and I want to make sure that, that we comply with all the international laws.
So I have a question. Do you have to state on your products all the ingredients that are used, or is that not really regulated as well?
No, with cosmetics you do. I know with perfume you don't, but with skincare you absolutely do. But there are different rules in terms of how they see ingredients. So, for instance, they look at essential oils as perfume. Now, for them, it's just nice smelling essential oils or oils. They don't think it does anything. So you do not legally have to list every single essential oil in your formulation. You could just put proprietary blend of essential oils, and that's fine. The rest of the ingredients you absolutely have to list, and you should list them by the order of how it's used, the higher percentage first and the lower. You can also put, if there is an ingredient that's one thing that, I don't like, but if there is an ingredient, for instance, that is used in a very low, small dosage in a formulation, which means low, below 1% or below, you don't have to put it on. The one thing that I see that always bothers me is whenever I get introduced to, for instance, extracts, herbal extracts, different extracts. So the vendor would just name it, for instance, let's say green tea extract, but they would not tell you if they preserved it or they didn't preserve it. So when you're looking at a label of a product, the FDA would only require you to put the name green tea extract. But the extract that the company is selling to you is preserved with something. Even though it's a very small percentage of a preservative that they're using, but they are using a preservative. But you're not required to put that name of preservatives in your label. You're only required to put green tea extract. So there's always this mystery, because unless you really know the composition of the extract, you don't really fully know every single percent of ingredient that was put into the extract. And when I found this out years ago, I was alarmed, because I thought, oh, well, this is crazy. Because if I choose not to put phenoxyethanol in my preservative in my products, then why would I want phenoxyethanol as my preservative in my extract? So when I realized that it was an issue for me to find what I really wanted with clean preservative, even though it was still very, very small percentage, I then decided that I would be the only way that I would actually, started to incorporate these extracts into my formulations is I would have to have them make it just for me with my preservative system, with my hurdle technology that I, put together. And I know that it works and that it's natural and it's safe. And that's the only way that I use it. I'll send it to the lab that makes me the extract. And then I'll send them exactly the dosage, the formulation, how I want them to incorporate it. And that's the only way that I trust it, because otherwise, most of the time I don't like what they're using. I don't like the composition, the full composition. There's always something there that bothers me. So yeah, there's always a hidden, I always feel like when you read a label, even though you think you know what you're getting, you really don't know 100% what you're getting, because there isn't a really strict, regulations. And hopefully that will change.
Yeah, I hope that changes too, because people could have reactions to certain components to those extracts, but if they don't put it on the label, then they would never know unless they test a product out and have a reaction to it.
Right. That's right. Another thing about, labeling, I wanted to kind of, say the same thing goes about oils. When you're reading an ingredient and it says the name of the oil, and for instance, you will say, jojoba oil, rosehip oils, sea buckthorn oil. Well, they all sound wonderful and they're great oils. But you do not, even though it's organic and it will have, their certified organic word right next to it. So, and you're happy, you're thinking, oh, this is awesome. I'm getting the best quality certified organic rosehip oil. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are. And unfortunately, it's another thing that I learned throughout the years as I was, doing a lot of research with different ingredients and getting samples. There are so many different types of refinement that go. People are refining oils just like you can imagine with the olive oil industry. It's the same thing with the cosmetic industry. So you have the same name, but you have different grades. You have different, smell, color, you name it. Viscosity, it's very different. Also different where it's growing. And most of the time, big companies, they want an oil. What's the most important thing for them is a very consistent oil. They do not want to get a little darker shade of oil this month versus, the last batch was very clear. So they want a consistency, and consistency means refining the oil. Refining the oil, that means you're going to take out a lot of the natural nutrients that are found in the oil. You're going to take out the odor. You're going to take out the color. And another reason why they like a very clear oil is because it's not going to interfere with the final color that they want to have as you know, to the end market. Most big companies, they want to sell just white creams. And if you're going to be using, you know, natural unrefined oil, and that has its natural aroma and color, you're not necessarily going to end up with a white cream. You might have a little, you know, beige or, you know, a little bit of a pigment to it because of all the other, you know, natural pigments that the oil carries with itself. So it's more complicated than what, you know, like I said, the more you dig in, the more the more you see that you need to dig further.
And like you said, talking about how complicated it can be, when you went to that dermatologist for the first time, they were trying to give you a one-size-fits-all protocol, which wasn't going to work for you, and they never looked at your skin type or anything like that. So can you talk about different skin types and what the different skin types might mean for what people need within their skincare?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because that's one thing that I was very actually frustrated with that experience with that my visit, that the doctor didn't even look at my skin. I mean, I'm olive complexion. I have thin skin that scars very easily. Every little mark takes months to go away, and it reacts very quickly from, you know, any product that I will put on my face. So to just give a generic prescription, it's obviously going to, you know, affect everybody's skin completely differently. Like I said, I did not handle the Retin-A. I know a lot of people can handle Retin-A. When you have a thicker skin and when you have a skin that's more resilient, that's not as sensitive, it can handle more aggression. My skin can never handle that. And that's another reason why I was always, you know, trying to figure out how am I going to find the right products for me, because I had such a sensitive skin. I think it's a blessing to have sensitive skin. I think I feel like it's basically like your body is saying, I don't want this stuff. This is not good for me. And your skin is forcing you to make a change. It doesn't mean necessarily that every natural and you know, organic, pure essential oil or oil is not going to react with your skin. But one thing I have to say, that at least essential oils are not going to damage your body. Essential oils, they flush out from the body within 6 hours through urine and sweat. And if somebody has an allergic reaction, they just need to drink a lot of water. And the body is not being damaged by using essential oils, versus when you do use you know, harsh chemicals, that within time it does build up in the, like I said, it can give you liver toxic, and it does build up in the body. I wanted to talk about the difference between, when I was an esthetician, I didn't even mention that. I think I forgot to mention that I did 25 years hands-on. I did facials. I had a spa. In Melrose, and that was a beautiful spa that I envisioned as a, you know, when I was in my 20s, I wanted to build a home for like a sanctuary. I had this vision that I'm going to build this holistic sanctuary where I'm going to be doing all the natural treatments, and I'll bring in a massage therapist and acupuncturist and a Reiki, and I had that. It was beautiful. I had the spa in Melrose for 10 years. Prior to that, I was in Beverly Hills, another place that I was working at on my own, that I rented. But I did 25 years hands-on. I basically developed the Nessa product line from being inspired throughout the years from my customers, my client that came to me since I was 18. Throughout the years, it was an evolvement. So first it was, everybody was most of the people were word of mouth. So they were all young, around my age. They were breaking out. They needed stuff for acne. I was doing a lot of acne treatments, acne facials, creating blends, and I remember that I used to just write it with a little sticker and just send it home with my clients. I just thought this is something that I wanted to create, to have for me to work with, that I know that is a clean product and that I can offer to my clients as well. So I was having a lot of success with dealing and understanding, because I had been through this myself, and I understood what it is to really deal with acne. And more than just as a topical, I always, and still today, I talk about dealing with your skin from inside out. I don't look at, here is the next product that's going to cure you. Here is my amazing potion. Yes, you've dealt with cystic acne all your life. You're going to use this and it's going to be gone for life. No. I always say that there's more than just the next product that you're going to put on your skin. You have to do more personal work. And you have to, as you know, it's what we eat, it's your lifestyle, it's the sleep. Sleep is so important, to get a good night's sleep, to be less stressed, to exercise, to just, be a happier you, whatever you can do, not pick at your skin. So this is something that I always incorporated into my practice. The skin, dealing with dry skin, oily skin, rosacea. I've seen all the different types of skins throughout the 25 years of, having a spa, doing hands-on facials. I basically dealt with the most sensitive type of skin that could not handle any, regular creams. And with essential oils, we were able to balance the skin and get into a situation that the client her skin was not as aggravated, not as flaky. It does take, like I say, it takes a discipline also from the actual, client herself. I used to educate them not to pick, because a lot of people have this tendency to attack their skin, and they think they're doing good by getting a lot of doing the home extractions, and not realizing that they're actually aggravating it a lot more than doing good. Sometimes it's better to just let the skin be, just let it rest. The body is so smart. The body knows how to heal itself. So, you have to just do other things internally and assist, and the body is going to naturally fix itself.
Yeah, and talking about that, working from the inside out, a lot of times we see acne-prone skin as more of a symptom of other stuff going on inside. So if your body's having a hard time detoxing something, then it starts pushing things through your skin. Or if you're having some kind of reaction maybe to the foods that you're eating with inside your body, then you're going to see it pop up somewhere on your skin. So like you said, it's very much, you have to have a balance of the external and the internal, and you want to make sure that the stuff on the external of your skin is also going to be good for you and not pushing more harmful toxins into your body that just aggravates the entire system more.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. That is so true. I have to tell you, Brian, like, I remember this client I had about 20 years ago. She was a beautiful girl, had this really severe, gigantic cystic acne on her face. And she came to me for facials, and I was very honest with her. And I said to her that she really needs to address it from within. There is something going on. And she found a holistic practitioner, and this was like 20 years ago. And then she came to me and she said, guess what? They found what I was allergic to. I said, what were you allergic to? And she says, for some reason, I'm allergic to something that is in wheat. And this was 20 something years ago. And back then I was like, really? Because, nobody back then talked about gluten. And so she stopped eating wheat. And her skin, it was incredible. Her skin cleared up. Of course, she came and did facials and used essential oils. She did all that in conjunction with changing her diet. But it was basically, I know for a fact, that it was the stopping eating whatever the wheat products that she stopped eating. That was what made a huge difference, because she said every time she cheated, she would see another cyst would be, starting to form, which to me, that was another, an indication like, yeah, you have to address it from within. You can't just expect, the quick fixes from the external.
Right, and that's so true. So many people benefit by even removing something like gluten out of their diet, and they notice that there's a huge reduction in their acne. And the tough part for kids is all the food that's available at their schools, or all the food that everyone has is all processed food, so they don't realize that it makes that much of an impact. And so they do want to go in for those facials, or they go to the dermatologist and get the antibiotics, and they're not realizing that there's a lot more to the picture than just that.
That's true. That's so true. And I have to tell you, I have 2 teenagers at home, a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old, and at home we live very healthy, eat very organic. I cook a lot. They know to choose healthy ingredients at home, but like you said, the temptation is outside. And at the end of the day, they are teenagers, and they have friends, and they go out and they have parties, and it's very difficult. So I think, but I think that what I do see, that even when my kids don't always eat 100% great, I feel like if the majority, which is, home cooked meals, and the majority of the time they do eat really well. And I believe that as they get older, they would revert to just, sticking to what they were taught at home, and just having a very clean diet. That's the hope.
Yeah, and sometimes kids, they just kind of have to work through the process themselves to figure it out. So you have to be able to accept that no matter what you tell them, they're going to try and figure out a different way to learn those lessons anyways. So
That's right. I mean, I'm labeled the fanatic, so it's okay.
Exactly. So earlier you were mentioning how you wanted to know what's in every single extract that you use and all the ingredients, which means you are going directly to either the growers or the suppliers or both. Can you talk about how important it is to have that relationship directly with the sources instead of working through the entire chain of buying a product that was bought by this business over here and produced by these people, and you don't know who's within that chain and what they're doing with the product at each stage?
Sure. So I believe that, the more popular ingredient becomes, the more adulteration we will see within that ingredient. So I'll give you an example. When, we don't have to go far. Lavender essential oil, and this is something that is known for a long time, that comes from France. There is a maximum yield of an essential oil per year that France is basically able to, produce from their lavender fields to create lavender essential oil. Well, it's very interesting how they are exporting more yield of lavender essential oil than they are capable of producing in a year. So what it means to you that there is adulteration somewhere. And this is happening a lot in many ingredients and essential oils, all over the world. Also, there was a problem with cold pressed oils. Whenever there was a shortage years ago, there was a major shortage of jojoba oil. And there was a lot of adulterations. I had a hard time getting supply for my regular supplier when I used to, I had no problem. And when I had a hard time getting supply, and the supply was in such a high demand, I used to be getting solicited with other vendors telling me that it's a jojoba-like oil. And I'm like, a jojoba-like oil? Like, I just couldn't understand all the stuff that let me just say, the creativity that is out there in alteration is amazing. It just amazes me how people do all this stuff, because anything just to have the supply, because the demand is there and there is no limit that I see what somebody is willing to do in order to just get it to the end user. If it's you, the formulator, to be able to formulate so you can give it to your client. I would much rather say, I'm sorry, I'm out of that oil. I cannot, with my conscience, just sit and say, okay, I'm going to buy a pretend. But this is a problem that's going on with pretty much all the natural ingredients that are out there. And you have to be very careful who you source your raw materials from. I am privileged that I get to travel often. I go directly. I visit the farm. I source directly as much as I can. Even if I don't get to visit the farm, I know where it's located. I do a lot of my studies, and I know that they are growing it. I work with this essential oil growers that distill specific essential oils for hydrosols. That's another thing. Hydrosols have been mislabeled, the names that they're calling them. They will call floral water that they created with just water and essential oil. They will call it a hydrosol, but it's not a pure hydrosol, because a pure hydrosol is basically the byproduct of either a byproduct of a distillation process, or you're actually distilling for the purpose of creating a hydrosol. So there's a lot of problem with that as well. So for me, I make sure that I just work with. It's a lot more work, because I work with people that I know this is their specialty. So if this Bulgarian grower, they grow only rose and they only grow lavender, that's the only thing I'm going to source from them. If I see somebody that has a list from here, to the entire list of essential oils that they're offering, obviously I know they're not the growers. I know that they got it from a third party. I have no idea if they diluted it in their lab before they're repackaging it and they want to ship it to me. So I stay away from purchasing this way. I want to make sure that I know exactly where everything comes from, because the closer I get to, to the ground where it came from, this is where the quality stays, then the further that, and this is the problem when people will say, oh, lavender oil or such and such oil, I tried it, it doesn't work. I did XYZ, oh, it doesn't work. Well, you tried a product with a name, but it's probably not the same quality as what it's supposed to be. So I think that this is something that consumers need to educate themselves a little bit more, to ask more questions, to ask the origin of the country, to ask, if the oil has been refined, if it's, anything that will give them that sense of security that they know that this is coming from firsthand.
Yeah, and I think more people like you, or there needs to be more people like you that go and meet with the suppliers and their growers, because I think that's such a powerful addition to the products that people make. And I had Joel Einhorn of Hana, who makes a Ayurvedic herbal blend, on my podcast a few episodes ago, who he does the exact same thing over there in India, and he goes directly to the source and he works with the growers and he has it a very specific way. And you want to know what's in the product that you're offering, especially when you want to offer a very clean product.
That's so true. That's so true. Speaking of India, you just reminded me, when I was searching for a really special oil that I could use for anti-aging, I came across Moringa oil. And this was about probably at least more than 5, 6, 7 years ago. And Moringa was not really known. There was no Moringa products on the market at that time. And I found the direct farm, organic farm in India. And usually, Nesta is not a huge, big company. And usually when you are importing, they like to get this big drums. But I wasn't sure of the quality. I wasn't really sure what I was going to get. So I always import a very small, quantity in the beginning. And I remember that I received my stainless steel canister directly from India, from the farm. And it was organic. And I opened it up, the Moringa, and I thought, wow, that's a rich, beautiful oil. I mean, it was just like the aroma. I had the little nutty smell, the color, the greenish color, the yellow greenish color. It was just like, wow, that's pretty incredible oil. Then I did more studying on it, and I decided to incorporate it into our product line. And throughout the years, as I was attending trade shows, one day I'm walking by and I see a big sign with a company where they're selling a lot of oils, and then it was a big thing that says Moringa oil. And I thought, wow, oh my God, Moringa oil came to the US. That's pretty awesome. Maybe I don't have to import directly from India. Maybe he's importing. Okay. Well, I asked for a sample, and I can't tell you the sample that I received. I got something that is colorless, odorless. It was just like, oh my God. And it was organic. So that experience on its own, I'll never forget that, because I found other companies. I actually sourced, just for the fun of it, I had 4 different samples from different suppliers of organic Moringa oil. And I wanted to see how the market is basically supplying in the US the Moringa oil to other, cosmetic manufacturers. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this is what they're using. But they don't really know that the real Moringa oil does not look or smell like this. The real Moringa oil is the one that came directly from the farm, the organic farm from India, that has the aroma and the color. So from that experience, I learned I have to educate people all the time. You can't just trust. You have to ask a lot of questions. And the more the oil is refined, you're not getting the same thing. So if you're seeing the name, whatever the same name of the oil on a label or ingredient, you still don't know. I think what would make somebody probably feel more secure is if I had to buy a product today, I would not buy from big manufacturers. I would always buy from small manufacturers that manufacture small batches, that really care, because that's where the difference is. It's the quality that you're getting. It's not about the name. It's not the marketing. They have they do a great job with that. But you're not getting the same thing.
And speaking of quality, can you talk about the quality products that you produce at Anessa?
Yes. So as you sense by my my tone of voice, is I am a very strict. I follow a very strict guideline when it comes to natural. I don't even the list of Whole Foods accepted list of ingredients is not something that I think is acceptable for me personally. I think that they're accepting preservatives and ingredients that I choose not to put, because they are also may cause some skin irritations. So I choose to be as safe as could be. Every product that I made throughout the years actually came from an inspiration. When I think about all the different products that I've created throughout the years, they almost have a story behind them, because either from a customer, somebody that needed to address a skin concern, or for, when I had my kids, then I was inspired to create some baby products, because I felt like there was something that was missing out there, that was not as strong, that would really help if it's for the eczema, whatever it is that I was dealing with. So the quality, I make the product myself. So I think that should say a lot for somebody who is very strict in terms of sourcing, making sure that each batch is tested. We actually, bottle it ourselves. I mean, from A through Z, we source all the ingredients. I myself, like I said, go out and make sure that I know what I'm getting, and I test it out before. And anything that I make, I feel like if it's not going to make a difference, I actually don't have a desire or an inspiration to even bring it into the Anessa line. I feel like if somebody has created something better out there, then there's no need. Then I look to something else. I need to be inspired. I need to have something that would get me going, to like make me want to dig and study and figure out how can I make something that is not there yet. But that's something that is an ongoing, and I feel like it's that hunger, the constant hunger to make anything that I do better, and to always feel like I'm a beginner at that level is great for me personally, because I'm never bored. I'm constantly enriching my knowledge, and I think that is a big part of the quality. Is if I see something that I thought even that was great, and tomorrow I realize it's not as great as I thought it was, then I have no fear of making a change, and I have no fear of communicating that either. So I think we just have to just always trust our inner gut feeling, and create from a passion, create from love, create from when you think about, am I really going to put this on my kids? Am I going to put this on myself? If the answer is no, I'm obviously not going to make it for anybody else to use. So if I have a self-doubt about any ingredient, I'd rather not put it in there than have it there.
That is awesome to hear. And Michelle has been very generous, and she has offered a 15% discount on any of the products from Anessa.com. So if you go to Anessa.com and add the coupon code Summit for Wellness, which is all one word, then you can get 15% off. Michelle, can you tell us where people can find you online?
Sure. Anessa.com, and also we have Instagram, Anessa Organic Skincare. And check us out. And I'm always available for skin consultations. I'm happy to always answer emails and address any kind of questions, and help in any which way that I can. Even a lot of times it has nothing to do with Anessa, but sometimes I feel like maybe a client is using products that maybe they have to just maybe not touch essential oils right now because they're using something that will interfere. So I have no problem in always just communicating the truth, as long as it's going to benefit, my client. The most important thing for me is to have a happy client. I feel like that's how it comes back to you, in anything that you do. Work with passion and have happy customers.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for coming on. I appreciate you going to the extra distance to be able to provide really quality skincare products for people. It's something that I definitely believe in that should be done by a lot more businesses, and I appreciate you doing that within your own business. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian, for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you were able to learn some new things about the skincare industry and learn more about some of the dark secrets behind ingredients that are used by a lot of the bigger companies. There's a lot of information I did not know about skincare that I learned from this episode myself, especially when it comes down to essential oil usage and how different companies may dilute the carrier oils or make oils that are similar to the real oils, but make it in a way that it won't change the overall color or the viscosity of the product that they are using. So I think it's really good information to know, especially if you use a lot of skincare products. And as we talked about, the stuff that's within the skincare products can get within your own body. So you want to make sure that the quality of what you're putting on your skin is of the highest quality that you can get. Go ahead and take advantage of that 15% off coupon from Michelle. It's very generous of her to do that. So use the coupon code SUMMIT for wellness, all one word, at inessa.com. If you liked this episode, then please go to iTunes and leave us a rating and review. They really do help us to get this podcast out in front of more people. So if you go to summitforwellness.com/iTunes, that will take you right to the page to leave us a rating and review, and it'll help us out. And next week, we will be talking with Pat Purcell all about chronic pain and fatigue. So if you are someone that's been suffering from chronic pain for a long time and you want to know some strategies on how to help yourself get out of that pain, this is definitely an episode for you to listen to. So that will be coming out next week, and we will see you next time.